but it's fine. They can come until 10 past, then I close it. All right, so thinking simplified, PRPs, oPRPs, and CCPs. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Krishna Viljoen, and if I summarize myself in 2 sentences, I'm a disciplined and a focused individual with passion for people and excellence. I facilitate and help people to get to the answers themselves in order to reach their full potential. So that is me in 2 sentences, and those of you who have not yet met me. Right, so today's topic is then PRPs, oPRPs, CCPs. This triangle really shows the relationship of them. So when we look at our factory as a triangle or as a house, we can then say that PRPs forms the foundation of the system, and we will have the most PRPs. So if we think of PRPs, the definition is the basic conditions and activities that are necessary to maintain a hygienic environment. So those will be always the most. Examples would then include pest control, cleaning, hygiene, maintenance, supply management, personal hygiene, waste management. All of that will then form the basis of our system. Then the oPRPs is the, almost want to say the new one on the block. This is the one that is a bit confusing sometimes, but this is in between an CCP and a PRP. So we can't say it's a critical control point. It is always not a process step, but rather a program. And that's why oPRP stands for Operational Prerequisite Program. So it's not a process step, and that's important to note. It is a whole program. An example is, for example, allergen management program or a foreign material management program or temperature monitoring program. And I'll come to more examples later. And then CCPs, we have the least amount of CCPs. When I come to a factory and there's about 10 CCPs where I have to audit, a big red flag goes up, because then the hazard analysis is probably done incorrect. Okay, so let's look at them. The first one is then PRPs or prerequisite programs. Remember the word prerequisite, in Afrikaans voorvereiste. You need to have these in place before you can even start thinking of doing your hazard analysis. It forms the foundation of any food safety management system, and it can be based on either the legislation, like let's take R638, the general hygiene requirements for the food and the transportation of food. It can also be based on customer requirements. So if you maybe pack for Woolworths or Pick n Pay or ShopRite Checkers, they have specific requirements in terms of PRPs. You can also base it on an international code like ISO Technical Spec 22002/1 that fits to FSSC, right? And then any other sector specific standards. So if you think of an industry standard like the Dairy Standards Agency, they have several guidelines on, for example, the cleaning of a milk shed. Or you get industry codes for fish, which is the VC specs for the NRCS publishers for fish, and then you must follow that. So it really depends on the industry you are in. And then important for PRPs, it can be done outside of production. This makes PRPs very unique. You can clean after production. You can also handle waste if there is no production. So PRPs can be done when there is no production. Like, for example, maintenance is often done when everyone is lying on the beach and having a holiday. The poor maintenance guys are doing routine maintenance. Okay, so here are some pictures, all taken by us on audits. So no clients' names will be mentioned, but you can see some PRPs here left at the top. That is some rat droppings. Here's some equipment issues. That is a mincer in a meat plant. There's very dirty there. some dirty drains, clothing not right, drinking, eating, storage incorrect, and cleaning equipment that is very, very old and dirty. And then here you can also see some pipes that are dismantled in dirty water. So really, that sums it up for PRPs. Remember, if you have any questions, you can just pop it in the chat and Demona will gladly answer them. Or just interrupt me, I don't mind to explain. Okay, so if we move on to oPRPs, or operational prerequisite programs, the big definition is then to manage the control measures that the hazard analysis identifies as necessary to control to acceptable levels and which are not otherwise managed by CCPs. So it's really the in-between one. And often it works in a synergistic effect. Okay, so maybe some of you can comment what is meant if I say oPRPs work in a synergistic effect. In Afrikaans, it doesn't really sound better. It's synergie, nee, it's the same. What does a synergistic effect mean? Anyone?
It enhanced the process.
Say again, Mazon.
It enhanced the process. Synergistic means to it works well.
It works well. Okay.
Yeah.
So you say it.
In terms of the prerequisite programs and the CCP, so it's like wat is die regte woord?
Ja.
Ja, wat is ek probeer te sê dit verbeter die proses, die hazard analysis, omdat daar nog 'n step in is.
Okay. So she said it makes it better, it enhances the process. Okay, any other comments on what synergistic means? Okay, thank you, Marcel. I'll show it to you in a diagram that I tried to do on PowerPoint. I missed my flip chart, but anyway, this is the second best. So if you look at a acceptable level in the final product, that's the horizontal axis there, a CCP can on its own, so let's take a metal detector. A metal detector can on its own reduce the hazard within acceptable level if you only have one CCP. Okay, the synergistic means it works together. So if you have an oPRP maybe on foreign matter control, with the first oPRP you have there is a sieve, for example. Then you have a magnet, then you have a strainer. So each of them reduces the hazard a little bit. But if you take all three oPRPs together, and we call it foreign matter control, together synergistically, they can reduce the hazard within an acceptable level. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Okay, so that is meant by synergistic. They are working together. There are often a few control measures that makes up one oPRP. So what does oPRPs have? They have action criteria items. And these can be measurable or observable. And let's take an example of a sieve or a strainer. So that is what makes this sieve or strainer work. So if you think of a sieve, three things. The size of the mesh is important. The fact that it's intact, so the sieve is actually in place, and also that it is the integrity, that the mesh is not broken. So those three action criteria items makes the sieve work, or makes that oPRP work. And it can be either measurable or observable. So in a siev's case, it will be observable because it's a visual inspection. And we cannot have oPRPs without production. So it will always be done during production. Okay, so let's look at some photos of oPRPs. So oPRPs, like I mentioned, allergen management can be an oPRP. sorry, I just want to admit someone. Allergen management can be an oPRP because it's not only one step that reduces the allergen risk, it's many things. It is the way allergens are stored. It is allergen production scheduling. It's maybe different scoops for allergens. It is maybe positive airflow. So a lot of control measures reduces or manages the allergens. So there's just an example of allergens. There is an example where berries and cream are stored together. That's a cross-contamination for allergens. That is a magnet. So often magnets are part of an oPRP because remember, magnets cannot be adjusted. They can't be made stronger or less stronger. So they will always form part of the foreign material oPRP. Then on the right at the top, there you will see a piece of hard plastic is missing in the sieving room. Here are some sieves with different mesh sizes. And then, oh, here's a bad one. All the knives, all the metal. So metal control is often seen as an oPRP. And here is the glass, which is the cell phone there that's cracked right next to a scale where they weigh ingredients. So if we look at oPRPs, we will see it is significant hazards. So either allergens or micro for temperature monitoring, or then foreign material or physical hazards. Okay. There's not many questions today, so hopefully you're all on the same page as I am. Okay, and then the last one is then CCPs, which stands for Critical Control Points. And they are there to manage control measures that the hazard analysis identifies as necessary to control. So these steps are crucial for food safety, and they should always be done in real time. If you cannot do CCPs in real time, you should then probably consider it as an oPRP. And I'll take example, a magnet. Remember, magnets cannot give a reading. They are not real time. They obviously detect the metal and we can verify a magnet, but it is not real time. Okay. And then critical limits are then applicable for CCPs. Critical limits need to be measurable. So it's either a temperature reading, a time reading, like with a metal detector, and millimeters. With pasteurization, it's always a temperature and a time combination. So it is measurable. We can measure it in either temperature, time, percentage. With the glass rinses, we can then measure it with pressure. So we measure the kilopascals to see how many bars of is the pressure for the rinser. Okay, so it's always measurable. It's always real time. And the critical limits are determined by the food safety team or the organization themselves. So it can be done by maybe running at a specific time and temperature for 3 months and then testing products for micro. Or it is predetermined, like Louis Pasteur long time ago already determined the pasteurization tables. So then we can follow that as well. All right, so always real time. That's very important. Okay, so let's look at some examples of CCPs then. The one that we are maybe most familiar with is the metal detector. So there's an example of a metal detector. There's a pasteurizer, a pasteurization tunnel for sauces, a fish or a meat smoker. That's also a CCP. X-ray machines, bottle rinses, then retorts and steamers. Okay, so these are just some of the CCPs that are in the industry, known CCPs. Okay, now this table is a very good summary, and also often people get confused between these criteria. So we decided just to put it on one table for you, and don't worry, we will send you the slides if you are attending today. So if we look at the criterion specific to a hazard, so can we say if we wash our hands, it will kill salmonella? No, we can't. So then PRPs are not specific to a hazard. oPRPs are specific to a hazard. So if we say allergen management program, it's definitely specific to the hazard allergens. Nee. And then for CCP, specific to a hazard, definitely. So why do we pasteurize, for example, to kill pathogenic bacteria? Then the next one, critical limit, PRPs, no, we cannot say if we wash our hands at 40 degrees water for 10 seconds that salmonella will be dead. No, we cannot. Nee. oPRPs also do not have a critical limit. Remember, they have the action criterion. CCPs, yes, they definitely have a critical limit, and it has to be measurable. Like, for example, pasteurization, time and temperature combination. Then action criterion, PRPs, no. oPRPs, yes. That is what we mentioned at the sieve. Is it clean? Is it intact? Is the integrity right? And the mesh size. So that is what makes that oPRP work. CCPs, no, they don't have action criterion. And then interesting, this one is the first one where all three is a yes. It needs to be monitored. Yes. PRPs definitely needs to be monitored. oPRPs and CCPs. Some of it should be done during production, like oPRPs and CCPs, but PRPs can also be monitored outside of production. They needs to be validated. PRPs, no. oPRPs and CCPs need to be validated. And we also have a different Thinking Simplified workshop on verification and validation. So if you're still confused between the two, please just indicate that you are interested. And when we have one, you can gladly join that one. And then the last one needs to be verified. Yes, all three PRPs, oPRPs, and CCPs needs to be verified. And when does verification take place? Always after the activity. So some examples of how to verify these or with internal audits. PRPs are mostly verified by GMP walkthroughs or PRP monthly audits, and even product testing. So things like swabbing hands, swabbing surfaces, and then CCPs can also be verified by doing final product microbiological testing. So this is just a table to summarize all of the criteria of these three to make it you less confused. Okay. So that is it from our side. We hope that we simplified the way you think about oPRPs, CCPs, and PRPs. And please let us know. There is some time for questions. You have been very quiet, so let us know if you have some questions. Then we can answer them now for you. Okay.